Welcome to Lakeshore Focus, a weekly show highlighting important events, interesting people, and key issues in our region. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick. The Northwest Indiana Forum is considered by most to be the leading economic development organization for this region. Whoever serves at its helm is in a key position to make a difference in the vitality and growth of this area, which is attached to the huge economic engine of Chicagoland. Let's meet Heather Ennis, who is the new president of the Northwest Indiana Forum. Such an impressive title and business name, don't you think?
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thanks so much for having me here, Keith.
Well, I'm glad to have you. We've been trying to schedule this for a while, so I'm glad to get you on here. You've been in the job how long now?
3 months, and it's been quite busy. So
I bet it has. So your roots really go deep in this region, right? I mean, you've been here your whole life?
I'm originally from Northwest Indiana. I grew up in Dune Acres. I went to Chesterton High School. I moved away for about 10 years and then decided to come back to Northwest Indiana and wouldn't dream of leaving.
Where'd you go for 10 years?
Well, I went to school at Purdue, and then I was in Indianapolis for a little while, and then Connecticut, then back to Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati, and then home.
So you were kind of a nomad for a little bit of time.
Just a little bit, but I worked with a great product development company and had an opportunity to travel all over the place, so it was fun.
You know, I was going to ask you this question later on, but I'm going to ask it now. So in all your travels and living in other places, is there something you saw one time and you said, gosh, why don't we have this back in our region? This would be so good to have.
Continually as we, go to different cities and see different things that happen in their downtowns, many places are revitalizing, making areas of place, and I think that they're, oftentimes when I hang out at something that I think is amazing, whether it be on a riverfront or a lakefront, or that I think we sometimes don't take advantage of those opportunities around our area.
Can you think of one that sticks in your mind that you just saw even in the past and just went, man, that would be so cool if we had that here, or we ought to bring that back, or we ought to enhance what we've already got?
I think taking advantage of the lakefront, I don't think that we have done that near enough with finding opportunities for people to interact, not only with the environment out there, but also with dining experiences and opportunities for people to recreate and stay longer, vacation type spots.
I notice that I think that's one of the things I notice too when I go, whether it's ocean or lake or river or something, how so many communities have done such an incredible job of developing the waterfront, and we have so much waterfront in Northwest Indiana, not just Lake Michigan, but all the rivers, lakes, and everything we have here, and there is a great opportunity there, don't you think?
Wonderful, and we're seeing different opportunities happen. Whiting's doing some great stuff. There's been quite a few changes in parks from the RDA investment that you see along Portage, or so we're thrilled with those type of things. But I think there's continuing opportunities.
So that plan to dredge Broadway and downtown Chesterton and put a river right through the middle, is that still on the books? Isn't that your idea?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Pitchforks, torches. Great.
There we go. Right next to the train tracks.
Are you trying to run me out of Northwest Indiana? Is that your? Let's see how we can get Heather kicked out of Northwest Indiana.
No, for sure not. So tell me, you were most recently the executive director for the Duneland Chamber, and you did that for quite a few years before you moved over to the Forum recently. So in your tenure with the Duneland Chamber, is there something that you just felt like, wow, this is a great accomplishment that happened while I was there?
There are so many things that we worked on.
Pick a favorite.
We're right on it's around the holiday weekend. So fireworks on the lakefront, I think, might be one of my favorites that we managed to accomplish. 5 municipalities working together with the DNR, the Coast Guard, the state park, national park, just a huge collaborative effort to put forth one of the best fireworks displays on the lake that we've ever seen.
Well, I'll make one criticism of one of the things you did was that European market, because my wife took me down there this past weekend and I ate way more food by 10:30 in the morning than I should ever eat. including breakfast and lunch kinds of things, so
Well, I
that's
can't.
unfair.
It was there when I got there, so I can't fully be blamed for that. But no, it's a huge asset, and it draws over 1,000 people into the community every weekend. So, great opportunity for the local businesses to take advantage of. We've done a variety of different things. I was also the president of the ADC while I was there, so had the opportunity to promote the different properties in the 5 municipalities and talk to people about, what a difference the Duneland community is. Some of the projects that I worked on probably won't come to fruition until, 2 or 3 years from now.
But you're still around to see them.
Exactly, so it's awesome. And so there's, a couple of things that are still out there that I hope to see happen in the next 6-8 months that, I kind of still keep my eye on and make sure that they're moving forward.
So you've moved from, the Chesterton and that area, working with the chamber now to this. You now have 7 counties that you are responsible for, or involved with, engaged with. And you stepped into a job, and I'll just ask you this. I mean, I think some people were a little surprised that they picked a girl for this job, because we've seen a long line of men running that, and we still in this region have a lot of men in prominent positions running businesses. So that business community is pretty heavily male still here. So how do you kind of see that challenge for you? And were you a little surprised to get picked?
I was quite surprised.
Pleasantly.
Very pleasantly. I mean, it's a dream job for me. Honestly, I didn't apply for it originally. And they asked me to consider applying for it and putting my name into the hat. And I thought, well, I'm not really sure I'm what you're looking for.
You must have been if they ask you.
But and so after having a long conversation with my husband and mulling it over, he said, if people ask you to apply for your dream job, you apply for it. And so
Good advice.
Yeah, and I loved where I was at. Very hard to leave the Duneland Chamber and the Duneland EDC, but I was like, okay, this opportunity is knocking, and I certainly don't want to pass it up. So. But yeah, I certainly don't fit the mold of what they've had typically, but this is a long-term career job for me. I feel very passionately about Northwest Indiana and want to see the area grow. I want more opportunities. I have an 8-year-old son and want opportunities for him. When I moved back here and when I met my husband, I decided I didn't want to travel all over any longer, and I wanted to stay closer to home and make a life with him and potentially have a family someday. So I was looking to not be on the road all the time, and opportunities were harder to find that matched what I had seen, when I was in Louisville or Cincinnati. So
why was this your dream job? What aspects of it make it your dream job?
Because I get the opportunity to create those opportunities for other people. So I get the opportunity to make sure that, when my son decides he wants to settle down somewhere, Northwest Indiana has those opportunities.
Might be a job here for him.
Exactly.
And something for him to do that's
Exactly.
really productive.
And if we still love it here, which I'm sure we will, we'd want him to come back close to us, even though he may want to run as far as he can away from us.
He might. You never know. Kids kind of do that sometimes, don't they?
Yep.
So what do you think, what do you see as the greatest challenge kind of in front of you with the forum, or in front of the forum right now for this region economically?
I think right now our greatest challenge is product. We're competing against regions all over the country and
In the world.
And the world, yes. And so we don't have as much product as we need to in order to attract people into our locations. People, we need to continue to be organized and get organized and say, this is where we want this type of development. This is now zoned properly. The infrastructure is there and ready.
Do we not have enough product, or not have enough good packaging of what we've got?
Both. Definitely both. Some areas we haven't strongly identified what product is truly out there. But as you talk with Don Kalabowski in our office, he knows most of what's out there, and we're continually getting asks for things that we don't have and that people may not have the timeline to wait for us to get all of our ducks in a row.
So let's focus on the positive side, because it's so easy to say, well, what are we missing or what are the problems? When you're dealing with businesses and you're talking to prospects and to businesses who are here who are making a decision to expand, to invest $10 million or build something big, what do you hear them saying positive, why they're coming here, want to be here, want to stay here, want to expand here? What do they say?
We've got a great workforce. We know how to make things. We have all of the infrastructure from port, rail, highway system. Everything goes past here. Our location is critical.
Like real estate, location, right?
Exactly. And then our business climate. The last two administrations have seen to it that we have a very competitive business climate. And, as we get ranked by Site Selector magazine or different organizations like that are looking across the country at where the best places to locate businesses are, we're ranking higher and higher every year. And where our neighbors are ranking lower and lower. So from the Midwest perspective, we really are a shining star.
So I told you I was going to ask you this question when you and I talked the other day.
And I've forgotten what it is, so
That's
you're going to
okay.
surprise me with it.
So we talk about the better business climate in Indiana, and we talk about Illinois' kind of deteriorating climate in some ways. Yet there's not a line of businesses standing on the border trying to move over here. It seems to take a while, and we just have victories every once in a while. So if we're so great and they're so lousy, why is it taking so long for that to come to fruition?
It's a game of inches, and as we discussed previously, none of this happens overnight. There are pressure points in any business decision. If everything's running smoothly in your operation and you don't have a need to expand, you don't really have a need for a new location, your workforce is doing great, and you're not seeing, your tax climate is really the only thing that's making you consider relocating. Moving your whole workforce, moving your operations is a big undertaking. And so those things just don't happen overnight. And it takes some sort of pressure point where perhaps you're looking to expand or looking to make a major equipment purchase or looking at adding a line that might require some switch in your workforce.
So it's that tipping point.
It's that tipping point that makes it so that you have to, our biggest enemy is the status quo. And, it's often challenging to make people
I thought your answer was really good the other day, and it's still good. But I thought that was really worth sharing because it does remind us it's just not easy for people to do that, and particularly the workforce issue. I mean, all of a sudden, if you got 100 employees, you say, "Oh, I think we're just going to move over here," and what happens to your 100 employees who are there that you need?
Right.
And most places
and they're
don't
such an integral
overturn,
integral part of your business. And so sometimes what we've done for companies, it has been a really interesting study, is said, okay, let's look at how much of your workforce is already in Indiana. Let's look at let's give us your zip codes for your workforce. Let's scatter plot these 3 sites that you're looking at, and let's see what the commute times look like for them, with it being, sometimes a reverse commute, where they're not, swimming they're swimming against the stream,
yeah.
so to speak.
Well, let me ask you, and we don't have a ton of time, so I want to kind of do a Cliff Note version of the whole Urschel thing, because that was where we had a very well-established, very prominent business in Valparaiso that now is going to build a whole new facility just up the road a ways. But I think some people look at that as, well, Valpo lost that and Chesterton kind of gained it. But you had a kind of an interesting perspective the other day, again, about how we should be really looking at that as a community. How do you see that?
And Porter County won. I mean, we kept them in Porter County. They were looking at other counties and other states, and from our perspective, the reason that we got into that process was because we wanted to make sure that those jobs stayed in Porter County. Everything happens locally. We go regionally first and then drill down. But this was when I was with the Duneland Economic Development Company. So focusing on keeping those jobs and the employees that are living in Valpo and living in the Duneland community employed.
Because in the end, I think sometimes we forget. We sometimes look at the communities, but it really is about the people in those jobs who live around here. We got to keep all those people here.
That's what
and
all
really
of
the
it-
region one too.
Yeah, and that's what all of it's about. I mean, especially a company like Urschel, which has outstanding wages and a great community-oriented company that gives back time and time again, and is so committed to the area and to their employees. Somebody that's paying much higher than average wage, we want to continue to keep those people right here in Northwest Indiana.
Well, one of your comments too, and I thought was a great one, was Urschel now gets the opportunity to build a brand new world-class showcase building to show off their products to the world and show off our region. So I thought that was a really interesting perspective, and something that maybe could not have happened right where they were. So this is a new it's one of those opportunities.
Right, an opportunity for all of us. I mean, the more people that we get to come and check out how wonderful Northwest Indiana is, the better it is for all of us.
I'm gonna let you brag a little bit here on, I've always been impressed since I've been here despite the fact that we have so many chambers of commerce, and you were one of those, we have a lot of really good chambers in our region. Why is that? I mean, I don't really find too many that are like, oh, that's really a lousy chamber. Almost every chamber does really good stuff in our community. Why do we have so many good ones?
Leadership, really strong leadership. I think, Dave Ryan's doing an awesome job. Rex Richards does a phenomenal job. Sue Reed is amazing.
I love Chuck.
Yeah, how could you not love Chuck? I mean, so I think that, but it's our people that are here. We're a very community-driven area, and so those grassroots type organizations, people want to be involved, and people want their voices to be heard. So I think Northwest Indiana in general, it's the people that live here that participate, the business people that are committed to the communities, and that's what makes it so fun.
And another great asset for us. How do you see any changes in kind of the direction for the forum under your leadership, or just some first things you're going to jump on?
We're reorganizing a couple of different things. I want us to do some things that are maybe a little bit more metrics driven. I want to talk about average wage for Northwest Indiana.
We talked about that the other day.
Yeah, and so there are conversations that have been had before, and all the leadership has worked really diligently. But I want to continue to drive that message and make sure that we're getting positive investment for the area, and that the companies that we're going after or the places that we're going after make the most sense for.
So share that real quick, because you shared that the other day. We used Indiana, 30 years ago, was 120%
I think that's
national average, and we're now what?
88 is from the statistics that I've found most recently, and so it's that's not where we want to be,
right.
And that's not the end of our story, and so we have the opportunity to make that story a more positive one, and to look at the companies that are paying better than average wage and figure out how to help them expand. How do we help them get into new markets? How do we attract more businesses like those? And not that all business isn't important, and because it is, and there's going to be ancillary businesses that support those businesses that may not be the top wage producers, but that are critical to the ecosystem. So we're going to continue to look at that, though, and figure out how do we can grow those that are paying the most, that are doing the most, and
get those wages back.
Get those wages back. And we know that we're going to continue to lose. Obviously, we've got some great employment opportunities happening at the mills, with retirements and things like that. So there's going to be a boom for employees there. But automation is going to dictate that they're going to be able to continue to do more with fewer employees. So as that continues to happen, we need to diversify what we're, not be so reliant on just the steel.
And that's some of the metrics we need to look at, some of those other issues that fit in with poverty and a whole lot of other things. We're down about a minute, so we talked the other day about one of the things that we seem to be lacking in this region is kind of more of a slogan, an image or something, and somebody created it a number of years ago that we're kind of the best side of Chicago. Do you like that? Are we the best side of Chicago?
Yeah, I think we're the best side of Chicago, but I don't think we need to say that. I think we need to show that. I don't know. I don't know that sticking our finger in the eye of Chicago is the best way to skin the cat. I think that we really have some great opportunity to send a positive message and figure out how to utilize Chicago as a great force for us.
That's a great closing. I look forward to working with you and for all the exciting things that are ahead for you. So thanks for being on the show, Heather.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
Okay, appreciate it. At a recent session of our Leadership Northwest Indiana program, I was asked a question that stumped me at first. We were talking about what defines this region located in the northwest corner of Indiana. The inquiry was, can you name 3 positive aspects of Northwest Indiana? I had to think for a minute and then respond with our location, the people, and opportunities. It bothered me that my answer did not roll off my tongue. The Valparaiso community is engaged in a visioning process to determine priorities for its future. At one of the meetings, the facilitator proposed another provocative question. What do you want to be known for? When we consider image, reputation, or identity, we are talking about how others see us. When we look at where we want to go or what we want to be, it helps us create an expectation or aspiration. To direct our growth and change strategy, we then chart a course toward those things we wish to be. Before action is taken, we have to figure out what we want to be when we grow up. What do we aspire to be in Northwest Indiana? The answer to that question remains puzzling. I hear people say that we want an improved quality of life, but what does that mean? Without thoughtful, mutually agreed upon answers, our vision remains hazy. We need clear, positive messages of who we are and what we are known for. There's another dimension to this dilemma. Let's imagine that you want to be the fastest runner. You aspire to be a fleet-footed hero, but are not there yet. A good coach will tell you to visualize crossing the finish line first, being awarded the prize, and it will be yours. We're told you have to believe it to be it. How do we apply that to our region? If we aspire to be the greatest location in the country, do we say that we already are? If we believe we have great people living here, do we repeat it? If we want to be known as the land of opportunity, do we constantly remind everyone that it is true? It's an interesting challenge. I'm not sure I have the right answer to these questions, but I do know that making positive comments about who we are and what we wish to be is far better than the opposite approach. So, create a conversation with others by asking, what do we want to be when we grow up? We always appreciate you watching Lakeshore Focus. Tell your friends, family, and coworkers that you saw the show or watched it from our website. Yes, previous shows are on the website. That address is listed on your screen. Also, please email your comments and thoughts to focus@lakeshorepublicmedia.org. Join us next Friday evening at 7:30 for another Lakeshore Focus. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying, make a positive difference in our world today.